First, let's take a look on the company history. Mr. DIY started as a consumer hardware store in Jalan Tunku Abdul Rahman in July 2005 and owned by Tan Yu Ye. The company then expanded by opening their first store in Aeon Shopping Mall in 2009. In addition, in 2010, they managed to open their first store at Tesco, which now is relabeled as Lotus. After that, in 2014, Mr. DIY successfully penetrated the East Market by opening their first store in 1B Hyper Mall Sabah. In the same year, it opened the first store at Giant Shopping Outlet in Ulu Kelang, Kuala Lumpur. The year ended with the remarkable growth of Mr. DIY as it celebrates 100 store opening at Giant Hypermarket Kemuning Utama. As for 2015, Mr. DIY extended their market by going internationally and opened their first store in Brunei at Plaza Abdul Razak in Bandar Seri Begawan, Brunei. Other than that, the first flagship store were launched in Mid Valley Mega Mall, Kuala Lumpur, and they also launched their own e-commerce website, which is www.mrdiy.com.my in 2018. As for 2019 and 2020, they launched new business venture which named as Mr. Toy and Mr. Dollar respectively. Mr. DIY offers 10 categories of products such as hardware, household, electrical, furnishing, car accessories, stationery, and more, with 18,000 variety of products. Ultimately, Mr. DIY has grown to become the largest home improvement retailer with over 800 stores throughout Malaysia, and each store encompasses about the average of 10,000 square feet to provide comfortable, wholesome family shopping experiences. Moving on, the vision of Mr. DIY is to be the largest home improvement retailer in Malaysia and Brunei. As for the mission, there are three missions, which are to create a globally recognized retail brand, to offer a diverse retail experience catering to different customer segments, and to maintain a wide variety of good quality, value for money items, thereby holding their true to the motto of always low prices. There are few organizational culture practiced by Mr. DIY. Some of it are code of ethics, whistleblowing policy, and anti-bribery and corruption policy, and also conflict of interest policy. As the code of ethics, it signifies the Mr. DIY's commitment to the highest ethical standards and laws in its day-to-day operation and serve as a guidance to appropriate conduct to be added by the employees. So Mr. DIY has gained credibility by upholding its commitment, displaying honesty and integrity, and achieving its goals solely through the honorable conduct. As for the whistleblowing policy, Mr. DIY aspires to create a culture of openness and responsibility in conducting its businesses. So a whistleblower may lodge his or her complaint or allegation or bribery, corruption, or any misconduct by writing to the whistleblowing unit or by completing the whistleblowing form and email it to the whistleblowing unit at Mr. DIY. Besides, any staff engaging in retaliatory conduct must be subjected to disciplinary action, which includes termination. The third one would be anti-bribery and corruption policy. Mr. DIY observed a zero tolerance position against all forms of bribery and corruption, and also committed to conduct all business dealings with the highest standard of ethics and integrity. Therefore, they adopt the ABC policy to provide information and guidance on how Mr. DIY combats bribery and corruption as to the standard of behavior that need to be lawful and ethical behavior in all time. The fourth one would be the conflict of interest policy, which is COI policy. So in this policy, the directors and all employees are expected to conduct themselves with integrity, fairness, and professionalism at all times, and avoid any conflict of interest that may arise in the performance of their duties. The goals and objective of Mr. DIY would be, first one would be to always offer lower prices. The second one would be to offer wide range of products, and the third one which will be the convenience of location store nationwide. As for the board of directors of Mr. DIY, they are responsible for determining and leading the strategic direction and overseeing the management and business affairs of Mr. DIY to achieve its long-term growth and build a sustainable business. It also provides effective review over ensures appropriate risk management and internal control system are in place to ensure their adequacy, integrity and effectiveness. The chairman of the board of directors will be Dato Azlam Shah bin Alias, followed by the CEO of Mr. DIY, which is Ong Chu Jin Adrian, and then Tan Yu Ye. After that, Brahmal anak lelaki Vasudevan, and the three independent non-executive director, which are Eng Ing Peng, Dato Hamida binti Naziadin, and also Leng Chu Yi.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Azamuddin Shahmi bin Hassan and I will present the company review for Mr. DIY. First, we go to the SWOT analysis of the company. Mr. DIY has some strengths that it can use for its own advantage. First of all, the company has significant policy, for example, their return policy, where customers can get refund or exchange for damaged products. Other than that, Mr. DIY also sold their products with lower price while still having the value of high quality. And the last strength for Mr. DIY is their e-commerce platform, where the customers of this company can do online purchase without needing to go to the physical stores. Next is the weakness of the company. For the internal weakness, the first internal weakness of Mr. DIY, it lacking in terms of promotion because of the price of their products that is already cheap. Other than that, the company also having the issue of shortage for their employees as a result of low salary and also small career development chance. And finally, the unorganized layout of the stores for Mr. DIY became their last weakness in this analysis. As for the opportunities, Mr. DIY has the opportunities to do collaboration or merging with other companies or other producers. Other than that, this company also has their own training program that can help them to develop group of talented employees. And finally, their e-commerce platform has the opportunity to be expanded more in the future. And the last element of SWOT analysis is the threats. For Mr. DIY itself, the first threat is that their unexclusive type of products can be easily copied by the competitors in the market. Other than that, the two external threats to Mr. DIY are the unstable economic environment of the country, as well as the changes of policies and also regulations which can affect the company's success. Next, we move to the first stage of the strategy formulation framework. From the internal factor evaluation or the IFE for Mr. DIY, the strongest point of the company is their low price of high quality products being sold. And for the weakest point, it is the issue of the employee shortage. And the total weighted score of 2.86 means that the company is well managed internally. As for the external factor evaluation, the EFE for Mr. DIY, the total weighted score for both opportunities and also threats is 2.53, which is less than 4, indicates that Mr. DIY is operating efficiently towards their external factors. And the best opportunity is the e-commerce opportunity of Mr. DIY, while for the most dangerous threat for the company is the constant changes of regulation as well as the policies. The competitive profile matrix is used to find out the competitors of the company with their best factors in the market. And for Mr. DIY itself, their best competitors is EcoShop with the highest total score, while Ninso and Daiso follows after. This means that Mr. DIY need to increase their effort up to the standard of EcoShop to be able to compete with them in the market. Throughout the years, Mr. DIY does achieve a lot of success with many awards being granted to the company. With the most recent is the Brand of the Year Regional Award at the World Branding Awards 2021-2022 and also Putra Brand Awards Retail category for Gold Award 2021. And most of these awards that Mr. DIY get is regarding the excellence of brand, selling high quality products with low price in the Malaysian market. And finally, for the problems like other business and companies, Mr. DIY does face the significant decrease of profitability during the COVID-19 pandemic. And other than that, in 2019, the company went viral for a little bit with an issue of products that is sensitive towards the Muslim community, which is Arabic scripts on a footprint-shaped car sticker.
Next is the space matrix. Space matrix has four strategic positions: aggressive, conservative, defensive, and competitive positions. Based on the graph, Misty DIY Hero has been dropped into the aggressive position area. And aggressive positions means that the industry is attractive and relatively stable. The entry of these new competitors into the industry will increase the market share, and focus on competitive product are the key factor when a company has a competitive advantage and can defend it. Next is IE matrix. IE matrix is a 9-cell display positions of different divisions in an organization. Based on the internal and external metrics, Misty DIY weight score for EFE is 2.53, and for weight score for IFE is 2.86. Mr. DIY is categorized in the 5th cell and recommends optimal management based on the use of a hold and maintain strategy. For the SWOT matrix, for the strength and opportunity strategy, Mr. DIY can apply new political system in business, maintain market penetration pricing, and increase presence in the international market. For the weakness opportunity strategy, Mr. DIY can concerns about the outlook of their store, train staff, more skill, and add self-payment counter. For the strength and trade strategy, Mr. DIY can maintain their quality product and service, design new product lines, and join more online shopping platform. And for the weakness trade strategy, Mr. DIY can reduce the number of unprofitable products, offer more promotions, and improve employer ethics. The Quantitative Strategic Planning Matrix (QSPM) is a significant strategic method for company to deal with a problem. Mr. DIY has identified 3 approaches that can help fix its own issue. Market development, market penetration, and product development are formulation strategies that can assist Mr. DIY in resolving its problem. The total amount for market penetration is 5.55, explaining that the attractiveness of this strategic plan to Mr. DIY as a solution to answer its problem is very high. Following that, the total for market development is 4.84, and the total for product development is 4.77. This demonstrates that the market development received the most funding when compared to market penetrations and product development. Then this demonstrates that the proposed strategy can solve Mr. DIY problem.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nur Shahira Azwana binti Munaja, and I will be explaining about strategy implementations. In this strategy implementation, there are 3 strategies that I will explain, which is market penetrations, product development, and market development. Before that, let me explain about strategy implementation. Strategy implementation, also known as an action stage on strategic management, where the company put an actions that being formulated before. Strategy implementation need a personal discipline, commitment, and sacrifice. So the first strategy is a market penetrations. Market penetration strategy being taken in order to increase the market share by using existing product in existing market. So, Mr. DIY using this strategy by enhance their advertising activity. Advertising become one of the marketing strategy that will increase the sales and it will make people away on the brands. Mr. DIY can do the advertising by providing promotions on every special day. Other than that, they also can use social media since nowadays social media being used by every generations. However, the company need to have a rule in order this strategy being successful, since the probability of other company using this strategy is highest. By doing this, it will rise the market share by only using existing product in existing market. So, considering on people tend to like shopping online, Mr. DIY have their own website for online shopping that make it easy for consumer to shop. So, in order to gain more market share, the company can using the new distributions channels such as Lazada or Shopee. This will help the company to gain more customer. This strategy will be success since it will make the consumer easily get their own product by scrolling on the applications and website, but competitor also increase. So, in this platform, Mr. DIY can add on their marketing product, which is they can giving a promotion code or free shipping, so it will attract more customer to purchase their product online. This will make the sales increase and might be used to promote the product and maximize their profit while minimize the cost. For product development, DIY is offering the low price with consistent quality levels, which make them in benefit to increase the sales. Mr. DIY product mostly directly from manufacturers around the world that make them able to offer the competitive price and maintain it. The company always provide a low price in order to relieve the rising cost living will make the consumers of this brand increase. This strategy will make Mr. DIY being an advantage since the product with low price always be customer choice. So the third strategy is a market development. Market development is a strategy decision made by company to develop the current market rather than looking for new market. To increase sales, the company search for new buyers to introduce the product to a different segments of consumer. Mr. DIY using this strategy by focusing to expand their business branch. They are open every store in every state, either it's rural or suburban areas. However, this strategy must be looking carefully since every state have a different population, so Mr. DIY will build the size of the store based on the data on the population and reductions numbers. With this, DIY will make it a further step from their competitors. Moreover, in order to attract a new consumer, the company can expand or strengthen their product for their brand. So Mr. DIY is popular with the lower price. Then they also have a branch like Mr. Dollars, Mr. Toys, and also nowadays that being popular is Mr. DIY Plus. Mr. Dollar is a global fixed price retailing which becomes successful strategy across the world. The price become one of the attraction with a good quality product. So for Mr. Toys, where it attract the kids to buy their toys with affordable price. So I think that's all for strategy implementations.
As for the conclusion of this assignment, any organization need to have clear mission and vision as well as formulating their strategic management according to their goals and also specific objective. As for Mr. DIY itself, as our company selected, the analysis of this company's strategic management indicates that it is being managed excellently, thus with the constant expansion and profitability of this company in the Asian region.
Moving on to the recommendation, based on the strategy analysis of Mr. DIY that has been mentioned above, there are few recommendations that can be done to improve the efficiency of Mr. DIY. Firstly, Mr. DIY need to hire more employees as the number of stores keeps on increasing. It is understandable if Mr. DIY cut the workforce during the outbreak of pandemic COVID-19. However, as Malaysia opening its border and the economic sectors are active in current period, it is advisable for Mr. DIY to add its workforce. Thus, it will not only increase the efficiency of production, but it also helps in improving the nation's economy. Other than that, it is recommended for Mr. DIY to increase production of their own product as they have started selling product with their own brand. By doing this, Mr. DIY can reduce the cost of import product and they are able to sell it at a lower price, which then will attract more customers. For example, Mr. DIY can produce their own bottles, plastic containers, curtains, and other home supply with its own brand. Last but not least would be the employee performance and customer service of Mr. DIY need to be improved. This action should be taken as their customers complain regarding employees' attitude and how they treat their customers. As customers nowadays utilize social media to post any issue, the good name of Mr. DIY will tarnish if this issue is unsolved. Hence, there is a need for Mr. DIY's human resource department as well as the employees to improve the customer service and the employees' quality.